will serve as a legal basis for appropriate reparations to the people of Marawi. An update from DSWD: as more residents have already returned to the respective barangays outside the most affected area, DSWD continues to contribute or distribute kambalingan packages consisting of 5,000 pesos cash assistance, 1 sack of rice, food pack that is good for 17 days, kitchen utensils, hygiene, and sleeping kits. This week, 5,372 families from 7 returned barangays in Marawi have been scheduled to receive the said assistance. As of latest data, 436,034,829 pesos worth of DSWD support and maintenance services have been accessed by 41,093 displaced families who have returned to the respective barangays under clusters 1 to 9. DSWD's assessment of home-based IDPs in the city of Iligan and other areas in Lanao del Norte is also ongoing. As to the observance of Ramadan, displaced residents in various evacuation and relocation sites received relief assistance and services from their local government units. ARMM, Humanitarian Emergency Action and Response Team, distributed rice and Ramadan package. The provincial government of Lanao del Sur provided Ramadan packs and muknas or prayer garments, while the Marawi City Local Government Unit provided rice and grocery packs for the affected residents. From the Department of Education, the DepEd Marawi City Division assures that the 47 schools outside the most affected area are ready for the reopening of classes this June. They have also facilitated the kindergarten catch-up education program for Marawi learners who would like to be admitted to first grade of this school year. A total of 1,746 students from 39 barangays in the city have enrolled in the said program. DepEd is simultaneously conducting today, May 23rd, the closing program for the Brigada Eskwela sa Marawi and the launch of Oplan Balik Eskwela at Amay Pakpak Elementary School. On donations, the Department of Finance and Japan International Cooperation Agency, or JICA, signed a grant agreement on May 15th for the release of 2 billion yen, which is equivalent to over 900 million pesos, that will be used for Marawi rehabilitation and reconstruction. Finance Secretary Carlos Dominguez III and JICA Chief Representative to the Philippines, Yoshio Wada, signed the agreement. On May 17th, the Philippine Bank of Communications gave a check donation amounting to 147,225 pesos to the Office of Civil Defense. The said donation is intended to aid the people of Marawi City. Also, the Department of Energy handed over to Lasureco 50 units of solar street lights, which is donated by USAID for the benefit of the residents in the Biyaya ng Pababago Transitional Shelter Site in the city of Marawi. The installation of the said streetlights is currently ongoing. And that's all for the updates. Now I give the floor first to Assistant Secretary Felix Castro for his opening statement.
It's working. This week we are celebrating the Marawi Week of Peace. It's from 17 May to 23 May, and it will culminate tomorrow. A city ordinance will be passed so that the Marawi Week of Peace will be celebrated on a regular basis every year. During this time, the different government agencies are offering services to the IDPs. DOH, for example, had its medical mission. DTI had its trade fair. LTO was there helping those who have problems in this registration. Of course, Marawi LGU distributed food packs and rice. Kanina, yung provincial LGU, nag-kick off ceremony kami. Sila naman ay magbibigay din ngayon dun sa evacuation centers. Iniisip namin na maganda itong tiyempo na gawing every year na maipa sa puso sa mga tao ang kahalagahan ng kapayapaan. Ang tema namin this week, Peace Starts With Us. Sinasabi namin na dapat ang kapayapaan ay magsimula sa atin. At kung tayo ay minamahal natin ng kapayapaan, ang pagmamahal natin sa bansa, sa Marawi, sigurado pong hindi na mangyayari uli yung nangyari last year.
Thank you, Assistant Secretary Felix Castro. Now we call on Mayor Bahul Gandamra for his opening statement.
Maraming salamat po. At we are honored that Secretary Doresa is here. Of course, it gives us a great pleasure to welcome all of you here today on the very week that the Marawi siege has happened last year. Last year, on this very week, on this very day, many of us fled our homes in fear and grief. Now a year after, we are back here with hope and determination to move forward. We have reason to feel optimistic because the great outpouring of help and love from the nation and beyond has been overwhelming and outpouring. I'm happy that we are even getting this far in slowly picking up the pieces and moving forward. However, my constant reminder for everyone is this: we can only truly move on if we leave our differences and choose instead to work together as a team, as a community, as a people, to overcome the tragedy and to regain what had been lost in just a space of many months. I even have this challenge for you, Marawi City constituents. How about being on the same level with the premier urban centers of the country, one that is true to its religious and cultural roots and yet progressive and peaceful enough to become a source of genuine pride among Maranao. It can happen if we want and set our hearts and minds to it. Unity brings so many good and great things to those who choose it. Kaya po, ako po ay umaapila sa ating mga kababayan na sana po magkaisa po tayo para sa pagsulong at pagbangon ng Marawi City. Maraming salamat po.
Maraming salamat, Mayor Agandambra. Now we call on Assemblyman Zia Adyong for his message.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. Good morning to everyone. The province of Lanao del Sur is one in spirit and in deeds with all the other agencies involved in the Task Force Bangon Marawi in providing the necessary needs and assistance to more than, up to now, I believe, more than 100 families, 1,000 families scattered all over evacuation sites. We are gathered here today to remember those individuals who have sacrificed so much for the liberation of Marawi from the ranks of our PNP and the AFP, and also those volunteers in the ordinary people who have volunteered to help out in retrieving dead bodies and rescuing trapped civilians during those harrowing days, which I believe was an incident that would not be likened to any incident happened in our history. So the question right now is, where do we go from here? I believe the provincial government, as I've said, is in close partnership with the local government of Marawi City and the Task Force Bangon Marawi with other line agencies involved to provide the necessary response to the 5 criteria that was set as priority in rehabilitating Marawi City and Lanao del Sur. But we would like to remind everyone that the war that started last year in Marawi City actually happened a year before that. It took place in Butik in 2016, and after several months from Butik, they attacked Piagapo and then subsequently ended in Marawi, which happened on last year, exactly on the same day, May 23. So where do we go from here? Based on the 5 criteria that was identified as a priority of the government and as of the Task Force Bangon Marawi: reconstruction, education, livelihood and business, security and peace and order, and social services, including medical services. The provincial government of Lanao del Sur, in close partnership with Marawi City, have provided a complementary an additional workload to compensate and also to help and to complement the works that have been doing by the line agencies involved in the Task Force Bangon Marawi. In the matter of livelihood, the provincial government has partnered with private sectors, private organizations to provide livelihood assistance to our displaced women by giving them technical assistance and trainings to do dressmaking and baking and culinary cuisine. On the part of on the aspect of education, the provincial government also allotted 10 million as of last year to be used for the scholarship program. And right now we have already 1,000 enrollees from high school, elementary, and even up to college. On the part of the shelter and reconstruction for the temporary shelter in Marawi City, the provincial government also has managed to discuss families who have space in the besides Sagunsongan to provide for a shelter that would augment and complement the number of units that are to be given to our IDPs in Site 1, Site 2, Site 3, and Site 4. All of this, ladies and gentlemen, have been continuously doing by the provincial government to support the local government of Marawi City and Task Force Bangon Marawi. But we also would like to emphasize that in order for us to move forward and faster with our efforts to provide rehabilitation efforts, help and assistance to our people, we need to support the reparation bill or the compensation bill filed before Congress. It has been argued succinctly, explained by Secretary Del Rosario, that there has to be an allocated budget, dedicated budget funding specifically to be used for the rehabilitation and to be used to assist the IDPs whose jobs were whose businesses were lost, whose houses were lost, and up to now facing an uncertain future. So we want to encourage everyone to support this bill. And if we only want to fast track the rehabilitation process for Marawi City. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you very much, Assemblyman Adyong. Now we call on the Presidential Advisor on the Peace Process, Secretary Jesus Jess Dureza.
Salamat. Bakit napakaraming media ngayon dito? I counted about 13 media organizations just on my list. But there's so many others. But I think today is a good day. I think we should not even be here in celebration, but in commemoration of what had happened. And I was asked to write my spontaneous thought right there in the board, and maybe that will capture everything. Let's learn from the lessons of Marawi. We have seen what Marawi was before, a thriving community, the Islamic city of the country, what happened on May 23 last year, and what it is today, but this is not yet the stage where we are already satisfied. We are working. Government is doing its best to restore as much as possible what was destroyed. And I think we are on the road. But we'd like to call on all those who had gone through suffering to please be patient. There is no magic formula here. There is no reconstruction that will happen overnight. There will be a lot of challenges. Not everybody will agree. There will be contrary voices and feelings. But it is very important na ipalabas natin yung ating gustong ipaabot sa gobyerno. You know why it is important that there must be some kind of what we refer to as a social healing. Restoring back the moral fiber that was all destroyed because of conflict. You know, every conflict brings about destruction, not only of structures, remember. You know, we can easily build structures by engineers, by contractors, by technical people. But the most difficult part is repairing back the destroyed social fabric, the relationship that had been broken. And I think this is the most important work na dapat gawin natin. We appeal to the media to help in bringing about social healing and not to bring our people further apart, but help out build together and restore that broken social fabric that had been destroyed by conflict. Kaya nandito kami in commemoration of what happened in Marawi. And I say again, immediately my thought when I was asked spontaneously, and then I wrote on the board, let the Marawi experience be a source of lessons for everyone. Hindi lang lessons sa gobyerno, hindi lang lessons sa ating government agencies, but most importantly, lessons sa taong bayan. Why did this happen? And you know better bakit nangyari to? At mas makakabigay kayo ng direksyon sa gobyerno, hindi dapat ang national government magde-decide anong dapat gawin. This will all come from you downstairs, which is a very important part of social healing. And there must be justice, as emphasized by Mayor Mahul kanina. Transitional justice is very important. We cannot move on and make things already feel normal and better if there is no justice given, the correct justice needed to redress the wrong that was committed, and that will be a start of the social healing. There will be no full healing of relationships unless justice is served. How will we do it? It is something that we have to do together. Not only government institutions, but ang pinakamahalaga, yung taong bayan mismo. Maraming salamat po. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Secretary Duresa. Also, another opening statement from Director Asad Baunto of RPDO ARMM.
Magandang umaga po sa inyong lahat. Ako po nandito para i-represent ang ating Office of the Regional Governor, si Governor Mujib Hataman at ang kanyang mga ehensya. May na-prepare po tayong konting statement dito. Ngayong Ramadan or Peace Week ay napapanahon na kailangan nating pag-isipan ng mataimtiman ang ating mga haharapin upang tuluyang masuportahan at maisatupad natin ang ating mga plano, mga programa, mga aktibidad sa komunidad. May mga katapat na estratehiya na pwede nating gamitin. Una, mainam at epektibo sa pagpapatupad ng mga plano at programa para sa mga IDPs ng Marawi, lalong-lalo na sa Ground Zero. At sa karatig bayan nito, ang pagsama o isama sa pagpapatupad ng mga plano, paggawa ng mga plano, ang mga leader or ang mga kinatawan nito ng mga komunidad. Kasama na dito ang traditional leaders, ang youth, mga kababaihan, at saka mga businessmen. Sapagkat ang participation ng community leaders ay may karapatan din silang gumamit or gumawa ng hugis ng pang-urban na espasyo kung nasa loob ng Marawi or pang-rural na espasyo kung nasa labas ng Marawi. Pangalawa ay kailangan din natin bigyan pansin at suportahan ang business at palaguin ang business and livelihood sapagkat mauhusay na mga ngalakal at tagumpay sa komersya ang mga Maranao. Kadalasan ay lagi nating pinupursue na ang business and livelihood ay pinangungunahan dapat ng private sector. Pero pangkaraniwang sitwasyon na ganitong nangyari sa Marawi, kailangan ng suporta ng gobyerno. Kailangan din nating invite ang mga Maranao sa ibang sulok ng Pilipinas o sa ibang bansa na maglaan ng investment dito sa Marawi sapagkat napapanahon po na malaki malaki ang pangangailangan or demand kumpara sa supply sa panglokal na ekonomiya sa merkado dito sa Marawi at sa Lanao del Sur. Pangatlo, ang usaping lupa ay pwede maging isang balakid sa pag-unlad dito sa Marawi. Kaya kailangan natin ng aktibong diskurso ang usaping lupa sa rehabilitasyon at saka usaping pang-unlad. May mga ilang options na pwede nating tingnan. Ito ang tawag natin ay hybrid approach sa pagresolba ng pagmamayari ng lupain. Ibig sabihin, ang mga legal na dokumento, mga titulo, mga pruweba ng actual occupancy, ng traditional ownership, at saka kung ano-ano pang administratibong datos kasama ang community mapping ay pwede nating gamitin para sa validation. Pang-apat, ang tuluyang pagtanggap ng plano, mga estratehiya at mga programang rehabilitasyon at pag-unlad sa komunidad ay nakasalalay kapag naisama natin ang sensitibong pangkultura. May mga sensitibong pangkultura na kadalasan ay tingin natin ay hindi importante dahil pwedeng taliwas siya sa conventional practice or pwede rin dahil nag-overlap siya sa ibang tema or sektor, no? Halimbawa, ang mixed use urban planning ay at saka ang consensus building ay tugma at sang-ayon sa tradisyon at kultura ng mga Maranao. At panglima, maraming mga pangunahing serbisyo ang nailaan at napamigay ng pamahalang pangrehiyon ng ARM at ating mga ahensya. Simula nangyari ang gulo sa Marawi noong Mayo 2017 at patuloy-tuloy ang paglingkod natin sa mga pamilyang IDPs at komunidad. Halimbawa lang nito ay nakatulong ang opisina ng Gobernador Pangrehiyon ng ARM at ating mga ahensya na higit kumulang sa 3,000 IDPs na family sa evacuation center sa Marawi at Sagiaran ngayong araw, no? Sa iftar at medical mission na gagawin. Mayroon din tayong 7,307 na pamilya, 7,307 to 10,600 na pamilyang IDPs sa pagbigay ng Ramadan gift package noong isang linggo. Pangatlo, mga pangunahing serbisyo ng ARM Convergence, katulad ng pagpapaaral ng mga bata at matanda, pangkabuhayan, pangkalasugan, at iba pa, na ginanap sa ARM People's Day dito sa Marawi at sa ibang lugar sa Lanao del Sur noong isang buwang nakalipas. At pang-apat, patuloy sa paggawa ng mga palengkeng pampubliko sa Bubong at Sagyaran at mga temporaryong pabahay sa Sagyaran. Ang pagpasok ng Bangsamoro na papalit sa ARM ay taos-puso nating sinusuportahan sa pagpasa ng BBL sa Kongreso. Layunin po natin na handang-handa ang ARM na may magandang transisyon para tuloy-tuloy ang pagbigay ng mahalagang serbisyo sa komunidad, lalong-lalo na sa mga pamilya na nasantala ng unos tulad ng nangyari sa Marawi at ibang parte ng Lanao del Sur. Ang rehabilitasyon, pagsusumbalik at pag-unlad ng Marawi at ilang munisipyo sa Lanao del Sur ay kaya nating tugunan pagsama-sama. Let's build communities forward and much better. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you, Director Assad. Speaking on behalf of the Regional Governor, now we may take questions from our friends from the press. Of course, kasama pa rin po natin si Colonel Browner at si OCD ARMM Regional Director Raylindo Aninyon to answer also your questions. So if, when you ask your questions, please identify yourself and your media outfit and the particular resource person you wish to ask your question. By Shora.
a pleasant morning or high noon. Good high noon, everyone. Suras Abdullah sa Regala of Radyo Pilipinas, Marawi. My first question is addressed to TFBM, Task Force Bangon Marawi, Asik Castro, sir. You have mentioned a while ago, Sir DG Harold, that 47 schools outside the most affected areas of the 24 barangays in MAA will be open on June. What happened to the school inside MAA? So I'm sure there is a plan of the Department of Education that all schools there in MAA will be clustered. And what happened to the teachers inside the MAA schools? That's my one question. And then my next question is addressed to the OPAP, Sir, Secretary Teresa. We will be pouring billions of funds to Marawi City for its infra project, education, livelihood, and others. What about the spiritual aspect of the IDPs in Marawi City, which is more than equally important to some other projects? Do you have a project for the spiritual? You have said a while ago that social problems of Marawi residents. So, kinakailangan siguro i-repair yan. So, kailangan natin yung programa para sa social and spiritual aspect of the IDPs in Marawi City. So, yun lang po muna ang aking katanungan. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you, Bay. For the question on DepEd, unfortunately, si Secretary Briones, they have an ongoing Brigada Eskwela right now, and they were supposed to come also, pero nagkasabay kasi yung schedule. The report that was given to us was the 47 schools that will be opened, but taking note on your question, we will get the information today from Secretary Briones. Asik Felix? Yeah.
Yes, right now the DepEd is concluding its Brigada Eskwela sa Marawi. For the past several weeks, they have repaired 47 schools. That is outside the most affected area. Inside the most affected area, there are around 22 schools, but this will be consolidated into around 3 or 4 bigger schools. It is the intention of DepEd, per our meetings, to have a better quality schools and increase the enrollment. Because they have so many schools, but the enrollment is not really that much. So according to them, they will consolidate some of the schools and encourage more students to enroll. But this will form part of the development plan for the most affected area. One of the requirements is to rebuild the public schools that were destroyed during the siege.
Yung akin, the question directed to me, the spirituality, we leave that to your respective religious leaders. As you know very well, when Marawi happened last year, OPAP was there to provide an opportunity for expression first of anger as part of the iftar, remember? Before, when iftar took place in the evening, we had requested the help of your religious leaders and other respected leaders to dialogue with the victims of conflict, get from them, that feeling that they have inside. There will be no easy healing if you don't allow opportunity for a vent that will allow them to express first. And during that time, it was also an opportunity for us to get from them directly what they wish to do with their lives at that point. Because we believe that social healing can only take place if there is ownership by them who are the victims. It is not for anybody upstairs to be able to provide to them the solution. They should provide it themselves. So we provide that opportunity also, and we will continue to do so during the Ramadan here, and OPAP has lined up certain activities similar to that. It's very important that we, in implementing projects that OPAP is part of in the Task Force Bangon Marawi, we must also put a peace lens to what we are doing. we cannot support projects that will even trigger more unpeace or more conflict. Remember, there must be inclusivity in the work, in the development work, in restructuring buildings that were destroyed. Kasi pag walang inclusivity dyan, may iba magsabi, bakit sila lang? Bakit kami wala? Bakit kami excluded? Then it will create another area of unpeace and conflict. So we are putting those thoughts together with our workers at Task Force Bangon Marawi and the local government, and we're glad that they're giving a lot of importance to these concepts. It might be a little parang abstract sa karamihan, ano? Sabi nila, gawin na lang natin yung mga buildings, okay na yan. No, sir. You will not provide the social healing, the healing of the hurt that makikimkim pa ng karamihan kung hindi natin i-confront yan at provide an opportunity for that. But the spirituality, we leave that to your respective religious leaders.
Before I call you Divina, Susan.
Good morning, Divina of the Philippine Daily Inquirer. My first question is for Ase Castro. Sir, sir, if homeowners are only allowed to go back, rebuild their house in the most affected areas after the debris management and eventually horizontal works, saan natin ilalagay ang mga dating sharers and renters na gustong tumira ulit sa loob? And my second question is for the LGU Marawi, Mayor. May we know of the latest count of cadavers or human bones or skeletons that were buried in Macbara, and when was the latest burial happened? Thank you.
Yung pong homeowners, sila yung papayagan nating magtayo ng bahay uli doon sa most affected area. Kasi unang-una, sila yung may-ari ng building. Yung sharers, eventually, pag tumayo na yung buildings, it is now up to the owners kung they will take them back into their residence. For the renters, we have encouraged them to return initially to their places of origin. The SWD has a program for that. They are giving support, and around 400 plus have actually returned to their places of origin. Ang sabi namin, at this point in time, hindi kaya ng lahat ng nakatira noon, hindi kayang bumalik pa. But eventually, kung talagang naayos na natin ang Marawi and they still want to go back to Marawi, then they have the choice to return back.
Maraming salamat po doon sa katanungan. Based doon po sa ating nakuha information from the in charge of this process, as of the kambisita po, mayroon ho tayong nakitang 9 skeletal remains ng mga tao. And doon naman po sa katanungan na ilan na po ang nailibing doon sa Macbara, as of now po ay more than 200 na po. More than 200, but some of them were identified by their relatives, and it was transferred to some other places, especially our Christian brothers and sisters who perished during the siege. Thank you po.
Yes.
Sir, a year after Marawi crisis, saan na po ba talaga tayo? I mean, sabi natin, we'll start the rehabilitation on June. Am I correct, sir?
That is the plan.
That is the plan. Sir, is that realistic na ba?
No, we base it on plans. Because plans are made given the situation, the data available.
All right.
So as our plan, given if we will be following the timeline, it will be at the middle of June, we could start the rehabilitation.
Do we have a developer na po ba, sir?
Wala pa. May lead proponent na tinatawag, but ongoing pa yung negotiation, inaayos pa yung final plan. We had a series of conversations, consultations from the first week of April until the last week, first week of May. Pagkatapos, all the inputs from the stakeholders will be studied, considered, and gagawa ng final plan, final cost, then there will be negotiation with the government. Doon na magkakaroon ng Swiss challenge after magkasundo.
Yes, sir. So, I mean, realistic po ba yung plano natin na by June mag-start na tayo ng rehabilitation? Kasi a lot of people are very frustrated, sir. When we get the chance to talk to some of the Maranaos na nasa shelter pa rin, ang sinasabi nila, parang masyado nang matagal daw, sir, yung ginagawa natin na rehabilitation. They feel excluded. Ano ba, sir, yung po pwede nating maipangako sa kanila?
Kaya nga po tayo ay minamadali natin yung proseso at kaya tayo ay nag-set ng middle of June. Sabi ko nga, nagkaroon tayo ng series of consultations first week of April hanggang early May. Ito ay para kunin yung mga kasaluubin ng mga different sectors ng Marawi. Ayaw naman nating madaliin in such a way na hindi maayos yung gagawing plano at hindi makikonsider yung mga gusto ng mga tao na makikinabang sa baba.
Alright, sir. Sir, last question po kay Assemblyman. Sir, even before, sinasabi natin na kapag masyadong matagal, parang yung frustrations ng mga tao, ang concern natin dito, baka mas maraming sympathizers yung makuha ng mga terorista. Because even until now, there are reports na continuous pa rin yung recruitment nila around the province. So how are we going to handle the situation, or how are we handling the situation?
I think it's more of managing the expectation and opening the communication line between government offices and the people at large. Kasi, well, we don't actually question the process why the government is meticulously doing consultations and then acquiring legal grounds, putting up the technical specificities in terms of the reconstruction, prior to the reconstruction. We don't question that if it means delaying the process, and we also do not question, but rather we understand the frustration of the people, because sabi ko nga, one day in an evacuation center is already too long for someone who have lost everything. So somewhere along the line, there has to be an open communication between the task force, the LGUs, and the people. So that if ever we want to provide information, kailangan po klaro sa kanila, at they would also need, they also have to be assured that in terms of the reconstruction, it doesn't necessarily mean repairing the damaged areas. It should also mean preserving the identity of the victims. Ultimately, we need to transform them into development partners. And I think the frustration comes from the fear of expulsion, fear of not knowing what's going to happen. And that can be managed by how the agencies would able to inform the public. There has to be, somewhere along the line, there must be an open communication. We can develop that further para maintindihan po ng taong bayan ano yung proseso na ginagawa.
Thank you. We'll have Jam, and then Gerg, and then kayo.
Hi, sir. I'm Jamel. I'm the correspondent of Al Jazeera. My question is for Asek Castro. We spoke to civilians yesterday, and especially those who are waiting to return to their homes. What they say they've been asking from TFBM is to allow them to rebuild their homes as government rebuild its government facility. So why are they not being allowed to do that? Also, do you promise not to demolish or bulldoze any private property without clearance from the owners? Is it something that you can promise? Because that's what they fear, that they might come back without their existing or whatever's left of their structures. And as you know, some areas in Marawi is problematic because there are no titles. A lot of it are really extrajudicial settlements. So how are you going to fix that? So basically they need assurance that they will still have a hold of their homes, and why are they not being allowed to rebuild their homes, which is a very basic request.
In fact, this is what we have been telling them, and this is in fact what we are telling during consultations, that we will not touch private properties. The rehabilitation will only involve government infrastructures. We have been telling them that, series of consultations with the different sectors, and we will continue to inform them that we will not touch their property. The only property that might be touched with their permission is during the widening of the road. There are selected roads that have been agreed upon that this needs to be widened. The owners will be consulted and they will be paid by the government. Demolition, we will not demolish private properties without their request. They have to inform us that they want their properties to be included in the debris clearing. Because part of the requirement for the developer that will be chosen is to clear the debris initially of government properties, government buildings. And if the owner so desires, the private residents could be included. We have requested and explained to the residents that we need time for the developers to do first the debris clearing. It's a very tedious task using big equipment, big machineries, and will be dangerous for people to also be there while the debris clearing is being undertaken. And it will be faster if the developer will work free and unhampered. The sooner that will be finished, the sooner that the residents can also start building their homes.
Sorry, sir. So to clarify, you commit that they will be able to rebuild their own homes after you've cleared the debris.
Debris and horizontal preparations. Okay. The horizontal includes the laying out of the sewage, the lines for the telecom, electricity, and the expansion of the roads.
Do you have a timeline for that?
It's around 12 to 18 months.
Okay, so that means they will have to live in these evacuation centers for another year or more, right?
No, we have plans to close the evacuation centers within the year, and that is why we are rushing to finish as many temporary shelters as we can. Right now, we have 2 sites ongoing, Buganga and in Sagunsongan. That's around 2,100. We have 54 Buadi Itua, we have 60 for Mipaga, 1,132 for Sagunsongan, 261 for Bakwit Village. So it will be a continuing construction of temporary shelters so that those who are in evacuation centers could be transferred where they can wait for the chance to eventually construct their residence.
Thank you, sir. Sorry, just one more question for Mayor Gandambra or for Colonel Bronner. How many really are missing in the war in terms of the number of people missing? Because if you go to evacuation centers and you speak to people, a lot of them really do have missing relatives, and so many of them are afraid to come forward and report the missing out of fear that they will be listed as one of those, sympathizers who joined the Maute. But do you really do have a record of those missing persons, those presumed dead, and those who have been recovered and unidentified?
Thank you, ma'am, for the question. First, as you have said, there were fear of some reporting to the proper authorities. That's the reason why we are having a hard time to really come up with an accurate number of dead person or missing persons because of that dilemma. But as of now, I've learned from some source that we have at least 50 missing persons. 50. But I think 50 missing persons. So, yun po ang aming problema dahil marami pong sinasabi na nawawala pero hindi pa po nagre-report, especially po sa city government dahil tayo po ay mayroon po tayong civil registry kung saan pwede natin ipaalam yung mga namatay or yung mga nawawala or nandyan po, open po ang ating opisina, but some of them, as you have said, ay natatakot po for fear of being branded na baka sila po ay kasama doon sa pumasok o lumusob sa Marawi City.
Sorry, last question, sir, for either Z or sir. You filed, there's a reparation bill, right, that is supposed to compensate those who have lost their homes. So it's not part of the existing TFBM structure.
I don't think so, yeah. I don't think so.
So
it's outside of the 50 billion pesos earmarked by TFBM, apart as a product of the, yung 50 billion is actually, the basis of that is yung assessment, PCNA. And just last month, Task Force Bangon Marawi requested the Regional Assembly to adopt a resolution for the 50 billion pesos to be used for Marawi. And we have learned that that's actually a budget to be used for outside of the MA. So the reparation budget, compensation budget is outside of the budget for yung 50 billion pesos. Kasi right now, I believe the Task Force Bangon Marawi, ongoing, yes, and they have already, they also asked our congressmen to file a bill because the problem is they're having hard time looking for budget for the reparation. Kasi of course the budget to be used for the reconstruction would solely covers the public utilities, public infrastructures. It's not so much for the private. So what happens now if ma-reconstruct yan and then private businesses, establishments and houses are hindi ma-repair. So that's actually the problem, no challenge. So that's why we need an act of Congress to include that in the GAA, General Appropriations Act, that there's going to be a dedicated, a specific budget for the reparation to the families, to the victims and the families whose houses and burned and businesses were lost.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sirs, good morning. Sir, I would like to get your opinion and your thoughts on this because there are reports regarding the two companies involved in the consortium that they were once blacklisted by the World Bank. So meaning there were problems during the construction activities that they've done in the past. So hindi sila naka-fulfill ng promise nila. That's why they were blacklisted. So sir, since at this point they're part of the proponent for the rehabilitation of Marawi City, I would like to ask your thoughts on that. So makakaapekto ba ito, sir, sa confidence natin that that they will be able to deliver to their promise? So my question is for Asekaso, kay Assemblyman Adyong, kay Mayor Gandamra, at kay Secretary, sir. Ayaw mo. Sige, sir, sa kanila na lang tatlo. Sir, okay. Thank you.
Doon po sa katanungan about this, the report on the would-be winner of this, the reconstruction, rebuilding of Marawi. During the last meeting with the Task Force Bangon Marawi and other stakeholders po sa Manila, I asked that to the developer kasi I was informed also about this thing. At tinanong ko po that to enlighten the people and the public kung totoo ba itong report, and sabi ko ipaliwanag natin. And according to them, they confirmed that there was this listing of their company, itong dalawang kumpanya, at it was, according to them, it was lifted. So, sabi ko ay doon naman sa aspeto na as to the legal impediment, ay wala naman sigurong legal impediment because sabi nga ng they were delisted from the yung na blacklist. Pero morally speaking, doon po natin pwedeng ma-question, no? At sa tingin ko po ay pwedeng magpaliwanag din si Asi Castro regarding this, and si Assemblyman Zia.
Hindi po ako pwedeng magpaliwanag. I'm sorry, I do not know the details about that. This is handled in the main office, from what I know, they are determining the yung capacity of these developers to really perform the job at hand, ano? But as to the details nung suspension at saka ano, I'm not in a position to comment on that. I do not know all the details. Sorry.
Well, in the case of reconstruction, we have to look at two things, no? The legality and perception. And legality is easier to address, no? You just have to provide the necessary documents and then prove to any offices, agencies, or to the court that you are capable, eligible to handle a certain project. But here in Marawi City, we are also dealing with battle of perception. And I guess what the good Secretary Duresa was saying about social healing, it also has something to do with community relationship, repairing community relationship. We have had the experience of Yolanda, and we do not want any reason to replicate what happened, at least on the perception of the people. We want to insulate the minds of the people from ever thinking that there's a semblance of, questionable dealings in the process. We avoid the misconception that might arise in the minds of the people that because there are several developers involved, potential developers that are to handle the reconstruction with a questionable past, and it might lead to something, not only frustration, but it might lead to something worse than frustration or disappointment. And we cannot afford that to happen. Perhaps what we want here, because of, we do not only repair Marawi City, the damages, but we also want to win over sympathies, support, and confidence of the people to the government, that the government can indeed deliver their promises to rebuild Marawi. And the first thing to do that is to win the sympathy perception of the people, that there won't be any cloud of doubt from the planning down to the implementation of the process. So this is very delicate. We want, if there are potential developers that are to involve during the reconstruction, we want a developer with sterling background and record.
Go ahead. Gaya po na sinabi ko kanina, legally speaking and technically speaking, there is no problem with that. But morally, the reconstruction or rebuilding of Marawi City should be devoid of any stigma of impropriety, so that we can avoid any, as Assemblyman Zia said, cloud of doubt as to who will undertake the development and reconstruction of Marawi City.
So, sir, at this point, are you already amenable, or are you not amenable for them to continue with the reconstruction and for them to be involved in this particular development?
It will be the call of the developer and the task force Bangon Marawi.
Additional information on that also, based on information received by the task force, while it is true that 2 of those companies have been debarred in the past, the debarment were fully served in 2014 and 2015. And as of 2018, wala na po sila doon sa blacklist ng World Bank.
So na-lift na po?
Yes.
Okay. Yes, sir. Okay, I think... Sir, na-confirm na ng TFBM. So, anyway. Oo. Anyway, sir, to be able to move on, sir, because we talk about social healing and the mayor was talking about... Sir, kasi hindi kami yung gumawa ng study. Yes, sir.
You are creating a doubt
Yes, sir.
immediately. And now we're asking you to clarify, and then you will
Yes,
decline.
Sir, sorry. Sir, we are not creating that doubt because TFBM said that they confirmed that it is true that it happened in 2014 and the ban was lifted 2018.
Yeah, the debarment was fully served in 2015 and 2014, at least for 2 companies. But as far as of 2018, hindi na sila naka-blacklist. So they're clear. As of right now, they're clear.
Sir. Oh, anyway, sir, moving on to my next question, because you're talking about social healing and the mayor was talking about justice. And the mayor earlier mentioned about his support to the government's call for Maute members to surrender. But you're calling for justice. Sir, what's your thoughts about, giving money on these surrenderies and giving them educational scholarships? Because in one hand, sir, some residents are actually saying that if they can give it to Maute members who surrendered, why the government can't give it to those who were actually affected by the war, yung mga nawalan talaga. So your thoughts on that, sir, please.
Yeah, that's exactly what I said earlier. What you do here in dealing with the situation is not create, again, issues of unpeace with those who will not be provided the same attention. I always refer to this World Bank language called moral hazard. Moral hazard happens if you attend to the bad guys and then you don't give equal attention and benefit to those who have been peaceful. Then you will now prompt those who have been peaceful to say, are we also going to take up the gun and also be bad guys before you give attention to us? That is the reason why, as I said earlier, in all the projects that have to be undertaken, whether for the surrenderies or not, there must be transitional justice. You cannot just forgive everybody in the same one swat of you are forgiven, unless there is also some form of transitional justice that will have to be make these people realize that they have committed something, and you cannot quiet the anger of those who have been in anguish of their actions if you will just immediately, say, you're okay now and we can move on forward. So that is very important. That's why I said it's very important, although it's difficult to really implement, but that is our guidance when we are asked at OPAP, our contribution to the Task Force Bangon Marawi. First, there must be inclusivity. Those who are in similar situations must also be given equal treatment and equal benefits. And we see to it that those who have been peaceful should also be given the same kind of attention, if not more, than those who had created problems for us. Otherwise, you will trigger again issues of unpeace or conflict.
So, sir, are you still recommending the continuation of that program or we do something else? Parang magkaroon lang ng, sabi nyo, para maging patas.
Yung sinasabi mo, masyado pa yung speculative. Nauna ka eh. Alam mo, wala. I mean, all of these are still being looked into, di ba? Anong gawin doon?
Sir, actually,
bakit nauna ho kayo? Masyado kayong naghanap ng angle lang, ha?
Sir, nangyari na po siya last time na nandito si Pangulo. So they gave scholarship programs to those surrenderies and even gave cash incentives.
In fact, you know what he announced? Yung binibigay natin doon sa surrenderies ng mga Communist Party NPAs, we must also give to the Bangsamoro. But you have to deal with them in a fair manner, those similarly situated. Alam mo kasi, you have also to address the root cause of why they're fighting. Remember, many of them feel that they're excluded from society, that there is no life in where they are, in the mountains, and in the environment that they are circulating. And you have to address that. And pinaka long-term would be education, providing education to their young. Maraming nagde-rebelde, hindi naman dahil ang iba ay ideologically committed. Ang iba dyan, na-impel lang because of the environment, the situation that they feel that they're not given attention to. And the President is very creative in approaching that. No? Kaya sabi niya, kung nagbibigay tayo doon sa surrenderies ng NPA, ba't di natin ibigay din sa mga Bangsamoro? And you notice, I don't know whether I'm free to disclose this, or maybe you know this already, but military is in the best position to do this. The Abu Sayyaf ASG group in Basilan had been almost not totally demolished, but even their highest leader had already come around and had given himself in. And very significantly, while he went in to government, there was a send-off group of his commanders sending him off, meaning they will watch also how we treat their commander who had given himself up, and perhaps they will measure on whether or not that will also make him a decision of also giving up. So there is a hard approach to the bad guys, but you cannot be continuously hard. There is a balancing of the soft, the right hand and the left hand approach, and that is where the president is very good at. No?
We will take one last question. Yes.
Sir, what's the process for these residents who do not have titles? We understand there's a big part of Marawi that is a military reservation, and there are even people who used to live inside the camp that had to be asked to leave the area. So they still have their homes there. They were forced to live in tents. And there are others who live outside the camp but are on military reservation areas. They don't have titles. What's the process for this residents, sir?
Well, the process is still the same, no, for any residents without titles. It's still the same. We are not treating them differently, but they still have to undergo the process of the law, no. So, yun pong mga nakatira sa loob ng kampo na wala namang titulo, of course, they will not be allowed to come back, no. And when it comes to the issue of the military reservation, nabanggit po ng ating Pangulo at ng ating Secretary of National Defense that the military will only retain what it needs. And it has been determined that the military will only retain Campo Ranao and the 10-hectare battalion headquarters that will be built on the other side of the river, no, near the main battle area or the most affected area, yung 10 hectares. Sir, if I may add very quickly about those who surrendered recently, among the 27 who surrendered and were presented to the president last week, some of them are included in the arrest order number 1 of the Department of National Defense and the arrest order number 2. So they will have to still be processed, and they will still have to undergo a certain legal procedure because, as mentioned, they were included in the arrest orders. So hindi po mawawala yung kanilang mga liabilities, but they will still have to be given due process as well.
Sir, clarification. Those who live inside the brigade cannot return to their homes inside?
Hindi po. Ang sinasabi natin is within the military reservation, yung Campo Ranao lang. No? Campo Ranao. We're not talking about the whole military reservation. No?
So they can't return? At least
Sa ngayon, it's being, there's some talks being done, no? Between the...
rest of the military reservation will go through the same process?
Yes.
But those inside the brigade?
We have delineated the boundaries of Campo Ranao, and we have come up with around 50 hectares. At dun po sa 50 hectares na ito, wala na pong mga illegal residents dito. No. No. Anyway, pinag-uusapan pa nila ito.
Maraming salamat. Thank you sa lahat na nandito at sa ating mga resource persons. As we close this press briefing, we'll just play a video on Marawi. Maraming salamat po at magandang tanghali.
On the 23rd of May 2017, the Islamic city of Marawi was in On the 23rd of May 2017, the Islamic city of Marawi was engulfed by fear and terrorism when a gunfire broke out in Basak Mabutlut and the Maute group had taken over establishments in the city. Militants roamed the streets while waving the black flag of the Islamic State of Iraq and Syria, more commonly known as ISIS. It was believed that there were Malaysian terrorists in line with Isnilon Hapilon that pushed for the creation of the Islamic State in Southeast Asia, who started the tumult with the reinforcement of Maute Group and Abu Sayyaf. The whole city was placed under lockdown as several buildings and houses were set ablaze. Later on, residents clamored to get out of the city and to evacuate to nearby cities such as Iligan and Cagayan de Oro. Residents couldn't believe that their once peaceful city was in chaos. Government military troops and special action forces were sent in to rescue and conduct clearing operations. This prompted President Rodrigo Roa Duterte to place the island of Mindanao under martial law through Proclamation number 216 on the 23rd of May 2017.
By virtue of the powers vested in me by the Constitution and by law, I had to declare martial law in the Mindanao Group of Islands for a period not exceeding 60 days, effective as of May 23, 2017.
Aid, relief goods, and medical supplies were distributed to those in evacuation centers. Moreover, Administrative Order Number 3 was issued on June 28, 2018, organizing Task Force Bangon Marawi to facilitate the rehabilitation, recovery, and reconstruction efforts in Marawi, which were headed by Housing and Urban Development Coordinating Council, or HUDCC. Great efforts were exerted hand in hand by different agencies to respond to all immediate concerns and needs of our fellows in Marawi. Other foreign countries such as China, the United States, Russia, Australia, Malaysia, Indonesia, Brunei, the Kingdom of Belgium, Vietnam, Singapore, and Japan